Hello and welcome to this short walkthrough on the assignment 1 that's due for CS202 section 1011. Here in assignments you can see that we've made this assignment available to you. It's due on the 29th at 11:59 p.m. But it is available until the 30th, so you do have one extra day if you don't get it in by the 29th. If you submit it on the 30th, it will be considered late and will be deducted some points. In order to access this assignment, all you need to do is go to the files. And once you're in the files, you can download the assignments here. Assignment 1. So there's all this stuff going on here. It's best if you can just go to the assignments folder, click on this, and download the whole thing. So once you've done that, pull it up here in your favorite folder. And here is the PDF. So you just open up this instructional PDF, which tells you exactly what you need to do. What we're going to do in this assignment is we're going to read in a large U.S. Coast Guard database of ship position information from the Automatic Identification System. Everything that you'll do in this assignment is listed here. Let's go ahead and open up that database so we can take a look about what's going on. So here's the AIS data. You just drag and drop it into VS Code. It will take a moment to upload. But once it finally does, you'll see here that we've got tons of columns going on. It's actually a big Excel spreadsheet. And the columns are separated by this little comma here. And each row represents a ship. So this ship is the MIS-NIZ. And this is its latitude and its longitude at this time, which looks to be January 1st, 2019, 12:05 a.m. And there's actually about 1.8 million rows in this CSV file. And so our program's going to actually open this file and read in line by line, store all of this information, and then we're going to be able to ask some questions, and we call it querying the database. We're going to be able to calculate distance traveled for some of these ships. We're going to be able to see how many entries we have for some of these ships. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So if you come here to this PDF, which is something you should read, you have to write all of these files. We've got a void read file function, a Boolean open input file function. We have this function to make string uppercase. We have this function search for vessel by name. We have a function print record. We have a function get next field. We have this function string convert, find last occurrence, find first occurrence, add unique string, save field, and distance traveled. So your job is to implement all of these functions. And here you can see that we have detailed function descriptions. So I'm not going to read these verbatim. It's your job to come in here and you can read what you're supposed to do in these. These are very detailed. So hopefully you should be able to type these functions out no problem. Now what I'm going to show you is the code and a few example runs of this program. There's also some example output here. You do not have to match this output exactly, though it needs to look very similar. So you notice here the first thing you do is we're going to input some file name. We're going to open that file. We're going to read in all of the records, and then we're going to search for a vessel by name. Once we search for that vessel, We can display the vessels by typing in yes. So here we display the vessels, here and here. And then we can calculate the distance traveled total by that vessel. And that's it. Once we've calculated the distance for distance traveled by the vessel, we can then enter a new vessel name and then just continue over and over again. Search for a vessel, calculate its distance traveled, search for a vessel, calculate its distance traveled, etc. So let's go ahead and look at the code that you provided for this. This function is called main_student.cpp. You should put your name here. And you will not have to add any libraries for this assignment. As you can see here, we have a struct. This struct represents one record in the database. So you can see here we've got, these are numbered. So this is the first column, which is at the 0 index. And so in total, we have 17 total columns. And in fact, if we come into this CSV file here, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So there's exactly 17 columns. So you're going to read in one of these lines, and you're going to store it into this struct. The columns are in this order, so you don't even have to worry about getting confused with that. The MMSI is this right here. And the transceiver class is the very last one. So you just kind of scroll over here. And this is the transceiver class here on the end. Here are all the functions that we discussed. And they are explained in detail in the PDF. Excuse me. Here we have main. Int main is completely typed out for you, and you do not have to do anything in this main function. You can see here that we're using something called a vector. If you don't know what a vector is, check out the third video on this YouTube channel in which I'll explain to you how to use a vector. And I review how to use a struct. So when you scroll down here, you're just going to see a lot of code. You're welcome to read it. Most likely you will as you're typing out your code. But eventually you'll come down here to this big comment here that says your code here. And we've got all these arrows pointing downwards. Here you will see every single function that you have to type out. And then you can see here it says end your code. So only put your code between these two big comments. So let's talk about each of these functions a little bit. And I've added hints for you as well. So just read the hints. A lot of them are pretty straightforward, but some of them are not. And so I've added a hint for you so you can kind of look at that and get an idea about what you're supposed to do. This function, distance traveled, takes in a database, and it takes in the index of the first occurrence of that vessel in the database and the last occurrence of the vessel in the database. And your job is to calculate the distance traveled from its first occurrence to its last occurrence. There's a link here. So in fact, if you go into the PDF, here's the whole function. This is a little daunting. So if you actually click on this link, it will take you to this website. And in fact, it has some JavaScript code here that can help you do the calculations. And in fact, if you copy it and bring it into VS Code, you can actually kind of paste it. You should tab it over because we want everything to be formatted nicely. Now, this is JavaScript. So this code is not going to work, but you should be able to kind of convert this into C++. Lat1 would be the latitude of the first occurrence. Lat2 would be the latitude of the second occurrence, or the last occurrence rather. And then here you have lat 2 and minus lat 1. You have long 2 minus long 1. Now sine, cosine, and atan 2 are all functions that are included in this library, CMath. So in fact, this excuse me, this distance travel function should be very straightforward. You should return the total distance traveled by this vessel. Our next function here is called find last occurrence. So what it does is in this entire database here, if you're searching for a vessel, it finds the very last record that you search for. So in this case here, we're looking at the Golden State vessel. This is the very last occurrence in the database for the Golden State vessel, so this function should return that. Here, if we look at find first occurrence, it's exactly like find last occurrence, except it's backwards. So in fact, if I come in here, and this is the very first record that I'm looking at, and I type F, and I look for the Golden State, you can see that the first occurrence here is at line 3,850. So the first occurrence of the Golden State is at line 3,850, and the very last occurrence for the Golden State is at line 1.8 million. So that's what these two functions do. Search for vessel by name. So what this function does, it returns an integer. So it will take in some string, and it will look through the entire database, and it will find every vessel or every record by this name or containing some string. So if I search for the name Golden, then it would find every record containing the word golden in it. I give some hints here in which you should use string find to check a string for a substring. And I even kind of give you the code here in which this says if database item does not equal this npos value, then we found the name within the string, and then you'll put some code here. You should read the PDF to figure out the rest of what this function does. But in the end, you'll return the total number of occurrences found. This function, called add unique string, is going to check this array of vectors for a bunch of strings. And if it finds it, then it's not going to add the value to the array or to the vector. But if this vector does not contain this string value, then it will add it to the vector. Once again, read the PDF on what this function should do. String convert, all it does is it takes a string and it converts it to a double. Here I say to use std, which is string to double. Print record will take one of these records here, and it will just print out the entire vessel. So even if you come to the PDF here and look at the sample output, you can see how the print record looks. It looks exactly like this here. Let me highlight it. So this line of the output is where you're just printing out one record, one vessel. Open input file will try to open the file, and it returns true or false depending on whether or not it was able to open it. Read file will actually read in every single row, so it will grab line by line, and it will store it into this vector here. Save field, what it does is it takes in a vessel, and it takes in one of these fields. So the way to think about it is it's going to take in just one AIS type, and you're just going to store something like the longitude or the SOG. So let's look at this here. The SOG field number is 4. So if we look at this save field, the field number will come in as number 4. And the string is going to be the SOG. So if we look here, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the SOG is this column here. So this is the string that will come in. So 10.0 will come in as the substring. And then you're going to pass in this vessel. And so you'll just say something like temp item dot SOG is equal to this substring, but it completely depends on what the field number is. Get next field will just take in one line, and depending on what the index is, the index of the string, it will either save the MMSI, or it will save the date time, or it will save the latitude, or it will save the longitude. You should read the PDF and ask questions if you need to. And then the very last function you have to do is called make string upper, in which it just takes in any string and it will make everything uppercase. I give you this link here, and we'll talk about this on Monday. So let's go ahead and do some example runs of this program. So here we are on Sally. And here I am in my test folder. If I press LS, you'll see here I've got this program called main Petrowski. You'll also see here that I've got this AIS data CSV. So you have to put both of these files within your directory over here. And once you're ready, you can just type out your compile thing here, std equals c ++ 11. And then we're going to do main petrowski.cpp. Once everything compiles, all you have to do is type /a.out, and it asks you for the file name. So we know what that is, right? That's AIS data. Let me make sure I spelled it right. So you type that guy in. It says file opened correctly. And now we have to wait just a few seconds here, because what it's doing is it's reading through every single one of these lines. VS Code keeps letting me know that this file is so big that it did some special compression mechanism on this. So all your program is doing is reading through all of these lines of data. And look, here it comes back and it says, look, I read through 1.899355 million records. And even if we look at this number, 1.899,355, you'll notice down here that we've got 1.899,355. So those numbers line up. Now it asks you for the vessel name. So we just have to search for something like Golden State. So let's go ahead and type Golden. And it's going to search through the entire database looking for vessels with the name Golden in it. In fact, it found 4,894 records, and there's only 8 unique vessels. So let's look at all these vessels. It says, would you like to see their records? I'm going to say yes. And it printed all this stuff out, so let's just kind of look at it. So here we've got the Golden Bosphorus. We've got the Golden Gate. We've got the Golden Ray, the Golden Strength, the Yasa Golden Marmara. Here's the Golden State. We've got the Yasa Golden Dardanel. I'm not pronouncing these right. The Golden Resource. And you'll notice that my cargo or my transceiver class is not printing out here. That's a mistake, but I can fix it. And if you look here at the sample output, that's really all that matters. So anyway, once that you've done that, it's asking you to find the distance traveled for some vessel. So let's go ahead and do the golden state, like I said. And we have to save this number here. What I like to do is probably take my snipping tool and just save a quick screenshot of this. And once I've saved a screenshot of that, I can just come down here and it says, would you like to find the distance traveled for this vessel? I say yes, and then I'll just type it in. So this guy is 367-342-960. And you'll see here the vessel, Golden State, traveled 261 miles. And then it asks you to do it all again. Let's do the sample output. I'll type Bill. It's looking for records. It says I found 1543 records with Bill. If we look at the sample output here, you can see that we found 1543 vessels with the name Bill. Now it looks like my transceiver class is not going to print, but I know exactly how I should fix that, and I didn't take the time to, but I know that you guys will be able to do it just fine. So we've got Bill S and we've got Billy H. Let's look at one of these vessels. How about 36751-770? So 366-751-770. Type it in, and it looks like Billy H traveled 89.4585 miles, 45485 miles. If we come look here, we should see the exact same output. There it is, 89.5485 miles. So that's all this program does. And when you're ready to be done, you just type Q and it exits. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me on Discord. Ask your fellow students. Please get this assignment done before it's due. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.